Top 10 facts you never knew about the Lamborghini Countach. The Countach is as iconic of a supercar can be. Here are some little-known details about the Lambo that defined 80s culture. The Lamborghini Diablo arrived in 1979, and it would go on to become one of Italy's most famous cars, though for good reason. Designed by Marcello Gandini at Bertone when they were still building prototype vehicles out there for the Geneva Motor Show, just had this LP 500 version back in 1971, which was absolutely stunning, then finally came production model less than 2 years later. The Lamborghini Countach is one of the most iconic supercars in history. It's so well loved and highly sought after that it still remains a dream machine today, even with its shortcomings from 1974 until 1990, when production ended on this legendary vehicle. In tribute to all these loyal followers who can't get enough information about their beloved SUV or supercar. Number 10. It saved Lamborghini in the 70s. When the founder of Lamborghini, Ferruccio, was unable to pay back his debt from an investment scheme and sold off most shares in order for it not be bankrupt. But this left them vulnerable during Europe's financial crisis, which hit hardest around 1973 to 1974 period, where consumers were cutting back on expensive luxuries like car purchases, or even gasoline prices rose significantly after 2 oil spills made news across all borders. The only model that still had fire burning within its hearts at this point were Countaches, so much so you could say they saved themselves. If it hadn't been succeeded by such advanced machines like Miura, then efforts trying rescuing company might have failed. Number 9. A nightmare to reverse and park. When talking about high-performance vehicles like the Lamborghini Countach, people will always talk of engine output and handling. Despite its importance, though it should be near the bottom, if you're going to list things that need attention when owning one, parking them safely comes up quickly as a concern because there isn't much room left over for anything else. The tiny rear window makes reverse parking difficult, with little visibility outside once inside your car, and vice versa. This task requires special skills honed by years spent mastering their craft, namely how to twist around halfway back on seated door handles while tapping pedals with foot until finally looking through peephole at obstacle. Number 8. Spoilers were installed in a parking lot. The most eye-catching feature on the Countach was its optional rear spoiler, which cost over $5K and could be purchased only through Wolf F1 Racing. It became popular with customers who wanted something special for their car but didn't need it to perform well in races or deliver any aside from being purely cosmetic. Drivers loved how sleekly designed this addition made them look while waiting outside of dealerships before they were moved into place as if handled by hand. The engineers at Marcello Production nod approval when seeing such creativity used efficiently throughout production processes. Number 7. Built after the boss lost a bet. When Ferruccio Lamborghini agreed with the designers that his successor must be even more extreme, he was hesitant to bring out production for fear of an impending oil crisis and dwindling cash flow from struggling tractor operations. With pressure applied by engineers on him, however, in order to make it back just in time before Bob Wallace could win his bet at Targa Florio, the old man finally relented, agreeing only if prototype LP 500 could manage race without breaking down or otherwise failing, while going through all endurance tests necessary here to prove its worthiness as one such vehicle capable enough withstand any conditions faced during event's course. Number 6. A unique name. Lamborghini is a well-known automaker that specializes in high-performance cars. One of their most iconic models, the Countach, was designed to be feminine and show off its designer's appreciation for women by having L written on it in Italian language, which means she, or sometimes formal way saying somebody who has reached adulthood. This particular model breaks from this tradition because despite being coined from Piedmontese word Countach, meaning surprise, meaning something unexpected happening while looking at beautiful woman, but also according to rumors within design studio Bertone had stated exclamation instead. Number 5. Most of the bold design features are functional. The Countach's aggressive styling has never been a point of debate. However, it turns out that these bold shapes serve more than just aesthetic purposes. Most of the features found on this car were not mere additions, but rather aids to function for different functions in which they are needed most, like making room with wide tires and ingress aggression visibility through scissor doors, while also keeping engine parts safe from overheating by air vents located at both doors as well behind rear wheel wells. focusing specifically towards how those tailpipe mesh grille incisions protected against flame arcing during high-speed drifts. It doesn't matter if people don't understand why something looks good if it's performance. Number 4. The first production car with scissor doors. We all know that Lamborghini is not just about their famous sports cars, and for the record they were never specifically designed to be driven. It's also important to remember where it began, with a 1968 Alfa Romeo Carrabbo concept car which featured scissor doors. The Countach was released 2 years later in 1971, but its wide chassis needed more practicality than just opening up space on either side of itself, which would have been helpful. So when you see someone rolling down Main Street in one today, make sure you stop immediately, because this person might have just gotten there before. Number 3. Sported an extremely rare window glass. The Countach's exterior design was created by Marcello Gandini with styling cues from two Bertone concepts, the Lamborghini Marzal and Alfa Romeo Carrabbo. One feature they all shared was a newly developed special lightweight anti-glare glass sourced from Glaverbel, Belgium, that would later become known as LMP 400. While Porsche used it in its Group 4 911 racers, Lamborghini Indiana Residente used it throughout production Countach H4 LP 400. These days original replicas can be exorbitantly expensive, so you'll want to stay tuned for our latest article on how much time and money goes into recreating these lost treasures. Number 2. Rode on the Widest tires on a production car. When the Countach LP 400 arrived in 1974, it rolled on a set of Michelin tires 205/70ths front and 215/70ths rear. However, when S models came about 4 years later with Pirelli EC thrillers at their disposal, they needed extra room for all those huge rubber to fit properly, so Ferrari gave them wheel arch extenders as well and redesigned suspension system that made this car look nothing short than magnificent. Number 1. It was never tested in a wind tunnel. The Countach was not a car for the faint-hearted. With its slippery shape and artificial intelligence that looks like it could cut through air, one might think this vehicle has all sorts of fancy technology to make driving easy peasy. However, there's actually nothing special about how they operate, just your average gasoline engine under the hood coupled with an automatic transmission, or quattro. The lack in power from these components means you won't be able to board any high-altitude aircraft without professional assistance, unless perhaps as pilot instructor, or even then some people would sooner stick needles into their eyes first, because getting near enough such things makes them. Thank you for watching, please subscribe.